Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show where we take a look at the highs and lows from the weekend just past in the Premier League. Little bit of a new format this week. We've heard you in the comments on my timeline. You want it bigger, longer, uncut. And on the subject of bigger, we're joined today by William Brazier. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you, mate. I definitely fit the bigger and longer category. So it's just great to sort of... only in height. It's only 9 a.m. in the morning.
Keep it PG.
Yeah. Nice to be back, fellas.
Absolutely outstanding. I've missed you, mate. Not doing the football social, of course, at the start of the season has meant I've not had my fix of Will Brazier. And also joining me, my Winners and Losers paramour, it's Joseph Thomlinson. How was your weekend, mate?
Yeah, very good, mate. Man United win, England win, Chiefs win, usual stuff.
Come on, you Chiefs.
That's rugby mentioned for the third consecutive week. I have a feeling that is a theme that is going to continue. Right, we've got 5 new sections for you today. Rather than doing one winner, one loser, and the talking point. Sometimes we did moments of the weekend, didn't we? But we're going to start with moments of the weekend on this new Winners and Losers. So very quickly, Joe, what was your fave moment of match week 11?
My favourite moment, I didn't have an awful lot of time to think about this morning, so I'm going for the obvious. Everybody at home's expecting me to say it. It's when I saw Bruno Fernandes take off his tracksuit top, 45 minutes, and come on and win us the game in spectacular fashion. What an unbelievable footballer we get to watch every week play in Manchester red, or on the weekend, black and white, zebra print, barcodes. But either way, just sensational. From the first footing on the ground, changed how we were playing, demanded more from the team, created chances, got his shots off, won us the game. Big 3 points for that for Manchester United as well, because obviously takes us up to 5th in the league, I think. 2 points off top with the game in hand. And the away form for United continues to roll on. That's now 5 games in a row away from home. We've gone behind, turned it around and won. 9 wins on the bounce away from home. 4 wins in a row in the Premier League. And yeah, it's all down to Bruno, baby.
Yeah, I loved the celebration when Greenwood scored as well. He was absolutely ecstatic, wasn't he?
Yeah.
A good answer. I imagine that's not the last time Bruno Fernandes is going to get a mention on this week's Winners and Losers.
Because 8
but alas, Will, your moment of the weekend?
Obviously, you boys are going to cover a lot of the on-field stuff and a lot of the proper football chat. So I thought my moment of the weekend would be when Jamie Vardy two-footed a corner flag after scoring a last-minute winner. He's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, so it's sort of more poignant for me because obviously Sheffield Wednesday floundering in the Championship, Birmingham floundering in the Championship as well. But when you get those moments of people sort of sticking up for you, like we've got Troy Deeney scoring at Villa Park, so I just really appreciate Jamie Vardy going above and beyond for the Sheffield Wednesday fans.
Yeah, I mean, that just epitomises Jamie Vardy, doesn't it? Trashing the corner flag. And he was sort of both delighted and horrified with it at the same time. I don't think he expected it to snap clean in half. I'm going to go for a little bit more of a positive one. I'm going to go for Christian Benteke scoring a brace against West Brom.
Meaning that's how you know when you're in the mud, though, isn't it? That is how you know when you are in the mud if you're West Brom.
Prime mud territory, Mudsville, USA, if you're West Brom. Christian Benteke topping his output from last season in 1 start and bettering his return from 18-19 in 1 start and equaling his return from 19-20 in 1 start. So, what a man. And that was the first time the Eagles had scored 5 goals away from home in a top flight game. So maybe Roy Hodgson will prevail as the winner of this week. You have to see at the end of the show. But moving on to part number 2. It's called The Numbers Game. Because we like stats to be at the heart of everything we do. But we got to a point where me and Joe were scripting Winners and Losers on a Sunday night, and we were like robots getting it done. You take the winners, I'll take the losers. Get the 10 best stats you can find on your Twitter timeline. Let's just get it filmed. Let's get it done. That's not what we want to put out anymore. All right, so we've got a little bit of a novel twist on it today. So each guest gets 3 stats from 3 different games, and their mission is to make sense of the numbers, because that's what we do here on Football Daily. And if you get a perfect stat trick, I'll buy you a prize.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah?
Wow. I like the use of the word stat trick there.
Yes, I will be copywriting that immediately after this show. Okay, Joe, you're up first, mate. It's Tottenham versus Arsenal, and the number is 44.
Oh, 44. Deary me. I believe the correct answer is crosses into the box, but I want to say throw-ins from Hector Bellerin. But no, I'll go, crosses into the box, I think it was, because it was literally just a whip fest in all over the place, wasn't it? It reminded me of when David Moyes' Manchester United put 81 crosses in a game against Fulham.
I'm not quite sure it was 81. That would have been absolutely outrageous.
It genuinely was. It was 81 Premier League record. Man United against Fulham. 81 crosses in 8 minutes.
That is absolutely sickening. That is almost twice the amount of crosses that, yes, Mikel Arteta's men put in against Jose's Tottenham last night. 44, bang on the money. What a way to start the show, Joseph. And it did lead to Jose's men making 50 clearances in this game. Something I've not seen in a long, long time. 19 of those coming from Eric Dyer and Toby Alderweireld, who were steadfast, weren't they? So quick question to you, Joe, to follow up the stat. Has Eric Dyer's transformation as an extremely confident and composed centre-half been one of the surprises of the season? And does it dispel the myth that Jose can no longer improve players? What do you think?
It's a really interesting one. And I heard Gary Neville give a really good explanation on it during the game, I thought, actually, because I watched an interview of Eric Dyer during the week and he was saying he was asking Poch to play him at centre-half as well. And he obviously didn't get that luxury as much under Pochettino to play where he wanted, but he is getting it more under Jose. And I definitely feel that comes down to the system they're operating with. If you want Eric Dyer to stick his body in front of balls, head clearances away and sit very deep and be very limited, he is a great centre-back for you because he's going to do all of the above. When you've got to ask Eric Dyer to do a little bit more, which Pochettino probably did from his centre-backs, get on the ball a bit more, slightly more progressive. You're going to see a lot more possession. I think yesterday they were down in sort of the 20%, Tottenham at times. So your centre-backs aren't seeing a lot of the ball at feet. I think that's maybe where Eric struggles a little bit more, not being able to distribute in the same way some other centre-backs do. And I do think that will probably hold him back when he goes to play for England this summer, which he definitely will be on the plane. But I don't think he'll probably be one of Gareth's first names on the team sheet as centre-back, just because he's so much more limited on the ball than a lot of other central defenders. I think he works perfectly for Jose because he's rock solid in just sitting, blocking, challenging, heading. But when he needs something more from his centre-backs, I think he struggles a little bit. If you stuck him in Man City's team, I think you would see a different Eric Dyer at centre-half. But can't take anything away from him doing his job right now.
Yeah, he's still really composed on the ball as well, isn't he? I think he's the top passer amongst the starting defenders. And he sort of completes around 5 long balls a game. So good variation in his passing. But you're right in the sense that this Jose system is quite kind to centre-backs. He's only putting up 1.1 tackles and interceptions. Like Højbjerg and Sissoko are completing, I think, over 6.5 between them. So they do get quite a lot of protection in that sense. Maybe we'll see, how much progress Eric Dyer has made against, I want to say top clubs, obviously Arsenal, City, Chelsea.
I don't think you're going to see it against top clubs though, because against the bigger teams in the Premier League, you're going to see a classic Jose system where you're going to see 10 players behind the ball most of the game with one player as an outlet and looking to counter-attack very quickly. And that's perfect for Eric Dyer when he can be the deepest man of the team. Højbjerg and Sissoko are almost centre-backs as well alongside him at times yesterday against that Arsenal game. I think where you might end up seeing them struggle at times is potentially breaking down smaller teams. Like you noticed it a little bit against Burnley. You noticed it a little bit, I think it was against West Brom where they caught the last minute winner, where they are going to see more of the ball. He's got to distribute from deep, and like you said, his long passes, they're okay, but it's when he hasn't got the compactness of the two defensive midfielders so deep alongside him. He might struggle a little bit more, but nevertheless, he is having a great season, isn't he, for Tottenham?
Yeah, and those wingers sort of blocking those half spaces for the fullbacks as well. Jose's back 3 or back 5 has quickly become a back 6 at points. Yeah, this season, hasn't it? So, yeah, maybe we'll see a different side to Eric Dyer when Tottenham have to be a bit more expansive when they're chasing the game and he is sort of man for man at the back. But until then, he's made a very, very good start to the season. Let's move on to Mr. Brazier's first stats. That's 1 for 1, Joe Thomlinson. Yours is from the same game, Tottenham versus Arsenal. Will, it's 69%, mate.
Would that be a possession-based stat for Arsenal?
Straight off the bat, he's levelled the scores. It's 1-1. It was 69% in the end in Arsenal's favour. I'm going to ask you, because there wasn't many silver linings for Arsenal fans in this result, but who do you think played well for the Gunners? And Is there anything, any positive elements you can take from that second half, which was a much improved showing, right, Will?
Chris, you know me, I try to be a positive Pete, even in the darkest of times, but I think Tottenham allowed Arsenal to have that possession, and I heard a lot in commentary, like, Arsenal are playing well, they're doing, but they didn't have any clear-cut chances. There was nothing to really, write home about, and that's obviously because of the way Spurs set up to let them have that possession, let them have the ball. And when you've got Aubameyang, who's on, God knows how much he's on, he's signed the ting, and he's not really living up to expectation, is he? Because, I put him in my fantasy team at the start of the season because he's a midfielder. And he was soon out of there, Chris. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there is an argument that second half showing, Tottenham did, played into their hands, sort of enabled them to get on the ball a little bit more. Danny Ceballos came on, was a bit more positive with it, wasn't he? I thought Saka was pretty good, 2 dribbles, 2 shots. Kieran Tierney, pretty decent service down the left-hand side of the second half. A lot of his passes completed in the final third, getting quite advanced, wasn't he? But like you said, I don't think they registered, in the end, as many shots on target as Tottenham, so it didn't really lead to anything meaningful. But you got a meaningful point there, Will. It's 1-1. Moving on to Joe's second number, which is from the Liverpool versus Wolves game, Joe. A little bit more difficult, this one. It's the number 31.
The number 31. Okay, from the Liverpool Wolves game. Is it from this specific match, or can it be from like a wider ranging one? So could it be like that was Salah's 31st goal of the calendar year or something?
It could be exactly that, my friend. So it could allude to the game or a run of games.
Oh, I think we're getting clues now, are we?
Right, okay. A little bit. First episode, isn't it?
Was it 31 games since or 31 home wins in a row for Liverpool?
I'm actually going to give you the point for that. It's 31 wins out of the last 32 at Anfield in the Premier League. Unbelievable. In this time, they've scored 95 goals and conceded just 25. And actually, we all thought they'd struggle on the defensive end in the absence of Virgil van Dijk. But since he got injured in that game against Everton, they've only conceded 6 in their last 11 in all competitions. Did you expect them to deal with this crisis quite so well, Joseph?
It's a difficult one because I expected Jurgen Klopp to find a solution because he is the best manager in the world. And you always feel like Klopp, whoever plays in his team, is going to bring that Klopp energy, whether it be Matip or whether it be Fabinho, at centre half. But no, I wasn't expecting them to be quite as solid as they have. I do think that potentially, Wolves is a good fixture for Liverpool, I feel like, at home. Especially a Raul Jimenez-less Wolves is probably quite a good fixture for this Liverpool team, where you're not going to have to see Jimenez versus Fabinho in aerial battles after balls are being whipped in. You're going to see Pedro Neto running at Fabinho, which is much more where Fabinho finds his feet, and he's really, really adept in one-on-one situations. So I have been a little bit surprised. I would say I was expecting them to succeed more, but Jurgen Klopp's Jurgen Klopp, and to say that he wasn't going to be able to find a solution for it would have been pretty disrespectful, I think.
Yeah. Were you surprised when you saw that Wijnaldum humdinger go in? What a belter that was.
No, because he's a tot footballer who gets consistently disrespected on both this channel and throughout the whole of football Twitter. You can't be a consistent 45-game season player in a team that's won the Champions League, Premier League, pretty much every trophy there is to win, and be average, as some people on this channel continue to spout nonsense about.
Yeah, I think the source of disrespect does come from one person mainly, doesn't it? But let's move on, Will. Actually, I want to stay on that Liverpool game for a second, because I wanted to ask you boys, both of you. I'll start with you, Will. Mm-hmm. So Mo Salah, as a result of being heavily amongst the goals and assists in the game against Wolves, has now scored or assisted 111 times since he returned to the Premier League in 17-18. So in that time, just to give you a barometer of how bloody good that is, that's 20 more than Harry Kane in the same period. So right now, who do you take in your team? I know they're different sorts of players, but if you had to pick one, you've only got X amount of chump change left in your fantasy team. Who are you taking, Kane or Salah?
Just to be clear, Just to be
Come
clear, I will sit on the fence to start with. I've got both of them in my fantasy team. But I think, as a fan of football from the terrace, if I'm sat there, it's a cold
Right now,
sport.
this is not over the course of the period. Right now.
He's trying to buy himself time, big time here. Come on.
I would take Mo Salah because
Okay.
yeah, you can put your Chiefs face where you want, Tomlinson, but I would take Mo Salah because as a fan, and this is you deal with the stats, guys, but direct, the passion. There's something more intangible more tangible with Mo Salah than Harry Kane. I don't know what it is. It's not based in numbers, fact, and fiction, but it's just
He gets your blood.
Mo Salah.
Circulating
Yeah,
more.
Mo Salah's led Liverpool. Yeah, something like that.
I love Mo. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Mo Salah for the record. But I think if you put Harry Kane in all 20 of the teams, you'd see massive improvements in terms of connection to the forwards and goal scoring. I think if you put Mo Salah in there, you need good players to give him the service in the first place, and that maybe feels a bit disrespectful to me to be saying it, but I'm not seeing Mo Salah drop into right back positions like I'm seeing Harry Kane do for Tottenham at the moment and put his neck on the line for Jose Mourinho's side.
It is absolutely outrageous, the defensive duties that Harry Kane is carrying out at current, and of course took more touches inside his own box yesterday against Arsenal than he did in Arteta's men's box. That sounds, what an innuendo that is. But I think his all-round game is totally unrivaled by any other forward in Europe at the moment. Do you get what you mean with Salah?
Can't we have both?
He's just absolutely electric, isn't he? And a lot of fun to watch, but Harry Kane is just doing the dirty work.
Imagine
as
Harry
well.
Kane playing where Firmino plays in that Liverpool role, who drops deeper, connects the midfield to the forwards. It would be ridiculous. You'd be seeing Harry Kane score 100 a season.
Salah is starting to play with the introduction of Jota and a front four. He is starting to play in more central areas. So there is a bit more tactical flexibility there than just playing on the right wing. But still, Harry Kane could probably play centre-half at the moment and do an absolute job. Let's move on to your second number then, Will. That's 2 for 2 for Joe. This is an outstanding start. And it is Chelsea versus Leeds. The number is 6. And I'm going to give you a bit of a clue.
Right.
Because I feel like you need it. Don't want to be condescending. But it's to do with a forward.
6 goals by Olivier Giroud in his last 3 starts.
It's the first half of that is correct. I'll give you a second run at it. 6 goals from Olivier Giroud in
The amount of games it
I
took
think
him to score.
I think you should give Will that because you gave me 31 in 32.
It's exactly why I like the Football Daily guys, because they're nice.
Let's be consistent then. Will gets the point for that. It got the majority of the points. You can hang me out to dry in the comments below if you think I'm being far too lenient there. But it is, yes, Olivier Giroud is the first Chelsea player to score in 6 consecutive Premier League starts since Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
Oh, that's
in
kind.
2001.
That is a kind point. I thought it was going to be 6 goals in the last 4, not 6 in 3 or something. Not 6 goals in 6 games or whatever.
I don't think I deserve that.
Absolutely taking a U-turn there, but the point has already been awarded. And my question to you, William, is that, after such a run of form, the Frenchman now has 7 goals in his last 3 starts for Chelsea. Surely he is undroppable at the moment. I know Tammy Abraham is chomping at the bit to play in that 9 with Kai Havertz and Timo Werner surrounding him. But Reece James's crosses and Olivier Giroud's sweet Swede seems like a perfect recipe for Frank Lampard at the moment. So for the next game against Everton, do you keep Giroud in the lineup, Will, or do you bring in Tammy Abraham?
Oh, definitely. I think you keep Giroud in as well. And what was it, 7 and 3, and it should be 8 and 3 really. Let's not forget Timo Werner, who was absolute at Sabotage FC, trying to stop his teammate from scoring a goal, which I've never seen anything the like of it really. But yeah, and obviously the best thing for him. It's sort of that. I mean, he's triple threat, and he's getting everything in there as well. He's bringing his teammates. He's a perfect target man. But now he's getting the goals to add to his game as well. Some great finishes in the week. Brings into play all those sort of star talent. I mean, the amount of attacking midfielders and wingers that Chelsea have got, he's the perfect player to bring those in. And now he's scoring the goals. There's a lot of disrespect that gets thrown Olivier Giroud's way. And I mean, it only takes one look at his Wikipedia page to see he's nearly on course to beat Thierry Henry's record as the French leading goal scorer. And I know this is Premier League chat, but come on, where's the respect?
Yeah, he does deserve a little bit more respect for doing it at 34 as well. And it's the only time my girlfriend's interested in football. That's when you know a man has an aura, that is ruthlessly good looking. My girlfriend refers to him as sexy French men, a sexy French man even. And I think for that reason alone, he should start the next game. You know, he's
Are you alright with that?
I'm more than all right with that.
Okay.
Right, let's go on to Tomlinson's third question, which is Sheffield versus Leicester. The number is 20, and there is a clue available to you, mate, because this is the most difficult one.
Okay. What's the clue then? I don't know.
You want it straight off the bat? I thought you might.
Go on, Joe, give it a go.
You might have wanted to try and work it out for yourself beforehand. Okay, I'm going to give you it.
Yeah,
it's also to do with a forward.
Okay, 20.
If you get this, I will do the rest of the show topless.
Jamie Vardy, 20. I was in 2020, scored more than that. Is it something like Jamie Vardy has scored... No, it can't be Jamie. Could it be Jamie Vardy?
Chris, can I have a guess if Joe doesn't get it right? Not for a point, just for a bant.
Yeah, of course you can, mate.
Jamie Vardy has scored 20 goals in his last 25 games. Something like that. I'll go.
It's not that, Joe. Will, I'm going to pass it over to you because you're chomping at the bit.
I don't know the answer. I'd just like to make Tomlinson look like a slug. Is it Jamie Vardy scored 20 away goals in a calendar year?
It's not. I'm going to give Joe one more clue. It's to do with the Sheffield United player.
Oh, okay. 20. Is it Aaron Ramsdale's conceded 20 goals in his first 8 games or whatever for Sheffield United?
No, but that is extremely feasible. There was some very, very unconvincing goalkeeping on display last night. It is actually Ollie McBurney has finally scored with his 20th shot of the season.
Oh, okay.
The only player to take more shots without scoring this season, Aston Villa's Trezeguet. And serves him right for using that moniker.
Yeah.
Will, we're moving on to your last question before we move on to part 3. And it's West Ham versus United. The number is 8. The clue is that he's already been mentioned on this show.
The amount of chances Bruno Fernandes...
Oh, he's only got it stolen!
Stats. Everybody!
I already mentioned that stat. I actually think I mentioned that exact stat that you created 8 chances in 45 minutes about 12 minutes ago. It's an absolute robbery.
I think that's 3-2 to William, isn't it? He managed to get 3 for 3. The second one was a very generous point. But yes, you are right. That is the amount of chances Bruno Fernandes created in 45 minutes, by the way. That is absolutely sickening.
I remember the guess, but I do feel that's well deserved.
Yeah. There's only one player has created more opportunities in a single 90 in the Premier League this season, and Bruno almost equalled it in 45. And United, like you said, Joe, at the start of the show, have now scored 2+ goals in 9 consecutive away games. Only the second Premier League side to do that in the history of the competition. So confidence is absolutely, spilling out on the road, isn't it? I've got a bonus round here.
Though. It is and it isn't. It is and it isn't.
You were horrified with that first 45, weren't you? Take us through some of your comments in the group chat.
I mean, anybody who watched the first 45 can see why I was pretty scathing of that first 45 minutes from Manchester United, because the level was quite frankly appalling, and not for the first time this season that's been the case either. I mentioned it earlier about coming from behind. I think 5 comebacks in 5 games on the road, and to be honest with you, in nearly every first half of those 5 games, United have looked absolute nonsense. And it was especially prevalent without Bruno Fernandes on the pitch and without Marcus Rashford as well. People really need to understand the influence of Marcus Rashford's runs off the ball as to how this Manchester United team play. Because Bruno and Rashford, when they don't play, United look a totally different team. And thank God we've got the king, Bruno, to come in and create 8 chances. Because in the first half, I think we had 4 shots. In the second half, we had about 14. That's just because Bruno's on the pitch. We should have been 2-3-0 down at half time. Let's have it right.
Yeah, for sure.
And in the second half, we probably should have won 2-3-0. So a draw would have been a fair result. The difference was Bruno.
Just find it a bit scary as well, though, isn't it? That Ollie thinks he can get away with not starting his 2 best players, and think that the squad's strong enough to withstand. Well, I was going to say to withstand West Ham, which is quite a scary fact.
No,
but
in good form at the start of the season, I think it's a fair statement.
But
you have got.
Well.
I think you do have to give West Ham a lot of credit as well. They were excellent for 45 minutes. Not to take anything away from them by saying Manchester United were really poor, but I think Ollie definitely had one eye on that sort of Leipzig game on Tuesday, a must-win. And I mean, if he didn't have Bruno or Rashford at full fitness for that, then we would have been in big trouble. And Rashford's obviously coming off the back of a shoulder injury, so I think Ollie was well within his right to rest those 2 players for the big game on Tuesday, and think that the team he had out, Van der Beek, Pogba, Cavani, Greenwood, Martial, had enough to score goals, and they just didn't without Bruno, to be frank. So, first half appalling, Bruno Fernandes, second half absolutely unreal.
Yes, fine margins for Ollie's men, personified by the fact if Seb Haller hadn't gone arse over tit, they might have scored another goal, and if Pablo Fornals hits it with his big toe instead of his little toe, it might not rebound off the post. I actually put a bonus round in today, just in case the scores were drawing, but that's not been the case. Will has taken first blood, but I want to go for it anyway, because it's quite a mesmerising stat. Across the Premier League, there's been 16 foul throws this season. How many do you think Hector Bellerin has been responsible for?
5.
Joe, you go first.
5.
Oh, you've seen this stat. 5. Yeah. No other player has more than 1. 5 foul throw-ins from Hector. It's in his head now. It's in his head. He can't get rid of it.
All I'll say is he's had more foul throw-ins than Aubameyang scored goals.
That is painfully true, isn't it? And George is editing this, so enjoy that little segment, George. On to post-match chat then, and it's exactly what it says on the tin. I'm going to read someone's post-match interview word for word, and I want you boys to guess who it is. Whoever blurts out the answer first gets the point. Nice and quick fire this round. So I'm going to start with, we can do any system, any formation. We can put 55 strikers in there. If we don't score goals, we cannot win football matches.
Well,
as simple as that. Go on then, Brazier.
Is that Mikel Arteta?
It certainly was. 1 point for Will. Ding, 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 ding. And my question to you, pair. Let's go with you, Joe, as you lost the point. Biggest problem at Arsenal at the moment for you, in a nutshell?
Recruitment is definitely the biggest problem at Arsenal. They don't have the right players for the system Arteta wants to play, but I do have to say I think Arteta is getting it significantly wrong at the club. I don't understand the style he's trying to implement. I thought he was coming in with this sort of attitude that was going to be reminiscent of Pep, keep ball, or potentially even springing counter-attacks. I just don't see what they're doing. It's like sit deep, cross the ball towards Aubameyang, who looks like he's about 45 now. I don't know what's happened to him. But yeah, I think I have to say I think recruitment's the biggest issue. Like Arteta should not be sacked because whoever's giving him the players are giving him the wrong players.
All right, good shout. And if you want to know more about Arsenal's inability to recruit properly, or Edu, the sporting director. Is it technical director or sporting director? One of those. Go and check out the latest Sunday Vibes. Love that we changed the title halfway through the Arsenal game to Should Arsenal Sack Mikel Arteta? Need those views, baby. Right, number 2. They were working like animals. With all the respect to animals, I love animals.
Beep. It's Jose. Definitely Jose Mourinho. I remember him saying it.
Yes. Right, Gary Neville said in commentary, Will, that he thinks Son is world class. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the sort of turnaround in his form and his quality. I think he was on the brink of leaving Spurs at one point, and now him and Kane, it's like probably the best partnership in world football, isn't it? And every time he's through a goal, I think back to that Southampton game when he had about 4 or 5 one-on-ones in the space of 5 minutes, and every time he thought he was going to score, and he obviously got a hat-trick that day, but yeah, he's absolutely world-class.
He is. He's unbelievable. I saw, obviously, the term world-class always presents a very sort of tenuous, boring debate about how can you be world-class if you've not won a trophy. An argument we've had with several members of Football Daily on either side of the fence in the office, but I think Son walks into most teams in the world right now. What a goal that was against Arsenal. What an opener. I think his and Kane's goal combined for an XG of under 0.2. 2. That's how bloody good the finishes were. Right, number 3. He can't do that at the moment. He can't do that on this level or any level.
Oh, Will, Slavan Bilic.
Oh, well stolen again. 2-1, William.
Kick
Lovely form. That was Slavan Bilic on Matheus Pereira's red card against Crystal Palace, which I thought was a little bit harsh. Kick out was a bit strong, but still a bit silly. Will, thoughts?
Absolutely loved it. West Brom playing really well, and then obviously Pereira messed it all up for them, turned Benteke into prime Ronaldo R9. He was finishing, and I'm like, no, tomorrow. And great for Crystal Palace, because you're not you wouldn't say that they're the side to take advantage of those situations, but they just turned into this brand new beast, didn't they? And just slotting everything away. And to score 5 goals away from home, no matter who you're playing, is fantastic. But I don't know. I know football does not work like this at all. But West Brom got promoted, and like we had that fantastic Brentford side that just missed out on automatic promotion, and West Brom have just come up with such a whimper and like.
You're saying they don't deserve to be there, and
no one's excited to watch West Brom play, are they? Come on.
Yeah,
not even West Brom fans.
He's gonna have to pull it out of the bag to even be in the job by the end of Christmas, in my opinion. That is Will again. So Will has clinched part 2, part 3 of the show. Let's just move on to some more cordial chat, because our guest is embarrassing Joe here now, and it's our winners and losers. And I think it makes sense to end on this, doesn't it? The rest of the show leads nicely to this point. So, Joe, who do you have down as your winners for this week?
Oh, sprung it on me. I haven't got a clue.
Do you want me to go with my winner, just to give you a little bit of time to think? Yeah, we'll buy you some valuable time. I've actually gone for Serge Aurier as my winner. So I think that we can do teams, we can do players. And his 90, fantastic. And obviously a lot of people were talking about the attacking endeavours of Son, of Kane, and they were brilliant in this game, and they're of course vital to Jose Mourinho's game plan, particularly Son, right, in terms of breaking at pace. But Serge Aurier in this fixture had 2 or 3 really big moments that could have not decided the game, but was certainly, like I said, could have determined, the fate of or at least a half, and that flicked headed clearance I think personifies that. When it was it going through to Aubameyang or Lacazette? I think it was Lacazette. So his 90 looked a little bit like this: 2 dribbles, 3 aerial duels won, 5 tackles and interceptions, and 2 blocks. And he's gone from this player who had a reputation as a bomb scare, right, to a really reliable fullback in a defensive sense, and someone that contributes massively going forward in the transition. So Serge Aurier, firmly my winner this week. Yours doesn't have to be as long as that, boys. I do stress. I was buying you both time there because we haven't gone through the new script. So what are you saying, Joseph Thomlinson?
I'll come up with one now. Apologies for not having one ready. I'm going to go with Reece James. I think Reece James right now is the best right back in the Premier League. And I think he proved it yet again on the weekend against Leeds. I thought he was probably one of Chelsea's outstanding players on the day. So consistent, like crossing from the byline, crossing from sort of the final zone of the pitch, that sort of 10-yard area. His delivery is just deadly. It's not quite Trent levels, but it's not an awful long way off. And I have to say, I think he's brilliant going backwards as well. He's been an absolute revelation for Frank Lampard in that right-back slot. And I wasn't sure coming into the season that he would start as many games as he has with Azpilicueta there. But now you look at it, I don't even see Azpilicueta in the equation. Yeah. And I think Reece James has firmly locked down that right-back slot. Yeah, I maintain that I think he's been the best right-back in the Premier League because, Trent's been injured. Wan-Bissaka's been terrible going forward, good going backwards. Doherty's had COVID at times. Who else is up there? Maybe Matty Cash is up there. I think he's actually started the season really well, but I think Reece James is just all round, backwards and forwards, creates an incredible amount of chances. I think he created 6 chances in a single game from open play against West Brom, which is pretty impressive for a right back. So yeah, I'll go Reece James. Continues his rise to the top, guaranteed a spot at the Euros at the moment. I
agree with what you said. I think Trent's delivery more varied and better from different positions, but when Reece James almost gets into that Antonio Valencia segment of the pitch, Where
Yeah,
it's
the
just
final
like,
zone, yeah.
Yeah, the bottom right. Reece James' delivery from that area is absolutely unparalleled, in my opinion. William, your winners?
I'm going to go for Mason Greenwood. Obviously, had a bit of a turbulent time. Pandering to Joe as well, just to sort of reconcile with the quiz. But yeah, Mason Greenwood as well. Just obviously off field, it's been well talked about what happened there, and obviously he's had different issues as well. But to see him score that goal at the weekend, it was just like this. You've got to get behind English talent, especially me, because I've got nothing else to support being a Birmingham City fan. But it was fantastic. The touch. He absolutely left off Bonner, and then the finish, it just felt absolutely fantastic to see an English player back to his best, back to his form, take that cross in, because it was whipped in with some pace as well, and the first touch and everything was just fantastic. So yeah, great to see Mason Greenwood.
Mason Greenwood makes your winners then. I'm actually going to take losers out of everyone's hands this week, because I think there's only one answer, and it is that section of the Millwall fan that, of course, started booing when the players took the knee, widely condemned by not just the football community, but pretty much everyone on every form of social media, on the news. It was certainly a hot topic, wasn't it? So I think just to round off the show, let's listen to what manager Gary Rowett had to say about it.
I'm disappointed that we're talking about that when we should be talking about the fact that we're all back and we're wanting to enjoy the football match again. I think the club do an enormous amount of work, on anti-racism. I think the club do a lot of work in the community, and there's some really, really positive stuff. So, of course, I'm disappointed.
I've been thinking of various ways to end the show, and I've settled on this, lads. It's called Pop the Question. It's just asking you boys one final thing that's been sort of levelled at me in the DMs. I think it's a good way to get the fans involved, because, of course, they used to suggest winners and losers. Still want to retain that element of it. So the big question for this week, keep it short and sweet. Can Lampard win the Premier League with this Chelsea side, Joe?
Yes, absolutely. He absolutely can. If I'm keeping it really short and sweet, they're definitely amongst the 3 or 4 best teams in England, and there isn't an outstanding candidate right now, mainly because Liverpool have got about 34 injuries.
Will, what do you think?
Yeah, completely agree, and the depth's there as well, and it's not just any normal sort of depth, it's depth in quality as well, because they can bring people in like Olivier Giroud, who turns it around because they've got the right characters in there as well.
Spot on. And if you want to know more about how Lampard has tweaked that Chelsea side to, turn them into potential title contenders, go and watch our Explained on how Lampard fixed the Chelsea defence. We'll put a link in the description. That is it for this week's revamped winners and losers. No doubt in the coming weeks we'll iron out a few kinks. We might chop and change sections. Let us know what you thought about it in the comments below. Will Brazier, absolutely delightful to have you back on the show. Did you enjoy it?
I mean, it's just great to be working back with the boys again, isn't it? It's been a long time since we sat in that studio down in Brentford, but although it's over Zoom, Google Hangouts, whichever ones I've got to push here, it's just great to be back with the boys.
Yeah, I meant back on the channel more so than the show. Hopefully you'll be on the show once more, but I do miss you trying to comfort me on the taxi ride home from those shows. When I'm hanging out the window, I've gone a dark shade of green because I'm getting travel sick, and Will's having to, just rub my back and tell me sweet nothings. Joe, I mean, you'll probably be on this every week with me, won't you, to be honest, mate? So
Most weeks, I'd imagine. But yeah,
you are doing the reaction at weekends, though, aren't you now?
Yeah, I'm doing the reaction at weekends. Well, me and Zachary are kind of rotating in and out, and Zach did yesterday's one to Arsenal versus Tottenham. If you haven't watched that already, it's well worth a watch. His immediate thoughts on what was a pretty horrific night for Arsenal Football Club. Yeah, and the video is loosely structured on how many things we've learnt from that game. So if you want some pub ammo, then feel free to raid that primo content. That is it for this week. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, send me some ideas for next week's show. We hope you enjoyed it. We're going to continue to sort of tweak our shows moving forward in 2021, and we'll see you next week. Bye.